have you start seated or reclined. I want you to go wherever you feel drawn, wherever, whatever feels comfortable for you. And then from there, you're going to just start to take a few minutes to settle in to whatever that is, whether that's reclined. Just muting everybody now. Oh, the one other thing that I wanted to say is do not be afraid to unmute yourself and ask a question. There's also no right or wrong to this whole practice. So if you're just coming in to this, you're going to come into seated, or you are going to lie on your back. Wherever you landed, go ahead and take a minute, maybe start by just closing the eyes. Maybe take a nice big deep breath, a long slow exhale. Maybe do that 2 or 3 times. That's just going to slow the heart rate down. It's going to activate that parasympathetic nervous system. Let us start to kind of relax into our space. You can continue with the attention on the breath, or if you want to kind of become aware of what's going on around you, if there's any noises in the room, traffic going by. Maybe notice the temperature of the room or how your clothes feel against you. How the floor feels underneath you as you sit, or underneath you as you are laying down. And in the next moment, before I send you off with a little bit of stillness, a little bit of silence, take excuse me, take another moment to select that focus point, whether it's your breath or a mantra, anything that you want to use as an anchor, so that as your brain starts to take over and the monkey mind starts to get involved, you have that to bring yourself back, to draw yourself back to the pose or to the present moment. And just take a few moments to sit with that. Just gently beginning to deepen the breath and be calling your attention back. If you're seated, I'm going to have you stay right where you are. If you are in a reclined position, I'm going to have you come up to a seated space. One other thing that I wanted to mention at the beginning of class, just a reminder to everybody, is it's a good idea, and for any of the classes that you take with me, to have a blanket or a pillow or a couple of blankets and some pillows, some blocks nearby, just in case you need them. If you don't have blocks, you can use soup cans, you can use books, you can improvise with just about anything sturdy that you can use. It's, shaped like a block that would give you a little bit of support. Same with the pillows and the blankets. So coming into that space, that seated space, I want to have you close your eyes again. I want you to bring your attention down to your sit bones and where they meet the floor. And then drawing the attention slowly up the spine. Sit yourself up nice and tall. Let the shoulders relax. Maybe even pull the shoulder blades together just a little. So they'll create just a little opening across the chest, and then take another deep breath there. Nice big inhale. And then back to that slow, long, slow exhale. We're going to start by coming into the neck. We're going to spend about 1 minute on each of the 4 sides. So I'm going to have you bring your chin down to your chest. And I want you to start one slow neck circle to the right. And just really taking your time. It's kind of loosening up all that's held within the neck. And when the chin comes back to the chest, take a pause there. So continuing with that nice tall posture. And then if you want to deepen the back of that, deepen that stretch, you're going to bring your hands up, you're going to interlace them, place them on the base of the head, then allow the elbows to relax. And as they do, that's going to just ever so gently deepen the stretch through the tops of the shoulders and the neck, and a little bit through the top of the back. Just remembering to stay with your breath or stay with your focus point. Maybe even keep the eyes closed. It's just one less distraction. And keeping the chin to the chest where it is. If you've taken the bind with the hands, go ahead and release that. Let that go. Take away that weight. And now take another neck circle to the right. It's going all the way around again. This time the chin is going to bypass the chest, and you are going to stop when your right ear lands on your right shoulder. First thing I want you to do is let that left shoulder kind of relax away from the ear, and you can hold here and maintain the stretch here if you want to bring the right hand up and place it on the outside of the head on the left side. Same thing, that little bit of weight is going to deepen that stretch. If you notice tension or sensation, stagnation in that top of that shoulder, you can adjust it and kind of fine tune it by adjusting your chin just a little bit. And then allow that gaze to soften and allow yourself to relax into the pose. If you're not familiar with Yin, it's a very slow practice. The holds are very long, from 30 seconds to several minutes. And that's just so the stretch can go really deep into the connective tissue, into the fascia, into the joint, synovial fluid. Helps keep us young. Keeping the right ear to that right shoulder. Go ahead and take the hand away if you brought that up for a little bit of extra weight. And now continue with that neck circle again, excuse me, all the way to the right, all the way around, until you reach the back of the head to the top of the back with the chin lifted. So opening through the throat and the top of the chest. If you want to take the bind, again, you're going to interlace the fingers here. You're going to gently press the knuckles into the chin, lifting it ever so slightly higher. Take a few deep breaths while you're here. The airway's nice and open. Keep the chin lifted. Let it be where it is. If you've brought the knuckles to the chin, go ahead and let them go. Continue the next circle again. And all the way around. This time stopping when the left ear lands on the left shoulder. Same option on this side. Taking pause there. If you want a little bit of extra weight, you're going to bring the left hand around. Place it on the right side of the head. Just as you did on the right side, keep the ear to the shoulder, take the weight of the hand away first, and then roll the chin down to the chest. Take a little pause there. So with the chin on the chest, check back in with your posture, set yourself up nice and tall. And now I want you to start next circle in the opposite direction from what you've done. We started going towards the right. Now you're going to turn towards the left. Just take a couple of motions there just to balance it out. Loosen everything up. And then next time the chin makes its way back around to the chest, take a pause and then let the head come back up to neutral. Sit yourself up nice and tall. If you've taken something underneath your sit bones, if you've taken seated and you want to move that away, you can go ahead and do that. And then from here, you're going to extend your legs out long in front of you. Once you do that, adjust yourself so that you're back on both of your sit bones, and you're going to keep your left leg long in front of you. You're going to put a bend in that right knee. And once you do that, you might have to adjust the sit bones again. And then gently interlace the fingers over top of that knee, kind of pulling the knee towards the chest. But what you're doing is coming back into that nice tall posture. Check back in with the shoulder blades, pull them together ever so slightly. And now you're going to bring your left hand on the outside of that right knee, using it just ever so gently for leverage. You're going to take a little spinal twist to the right. You can bring the right hand behind you for a little bit of support. How far back you turn your chin is going to, the further back you turn, the more depth to the twist you're going to have. So that's where you decide kind of how that feels for you. And then when you've gotten to that sweet spot, again, just a reminder to maintain that tall posture while you're in that twist. Then pause there. The class that I put together for today is pretty gentle. It's pretty basic. I thought maybe I'd kind of go easy on everybody since we're just all getting back together. And the holds are going to be a little shorter. They're going to average about 2 minutes each. Except for the spinal twist, you're only here for a minute. Take one more big breath where you are, and then let the exhale slowly bring you back to center. And then once you reach center, we're going to come into half shoelace pose. So you're going to leave that left leg long. You can't see me very well. And you're going to cross the right leg over the left. However that's comfortable. Over the knee, it can be below the knee, it can be above the knee, it doesn't matter. And then you're going to adjust back into the sit bones. And now you're going to slowly round over that leg. You're going to notice maybe sensation in the back, or if you're getting a really strong sensation through the back of that left leg, you can put a little bend in the knee and maybe slide a little bit of blanket underneath there, where my hand is, if you want to soften that a little. As I mentioned in the beginning of class, it's all kind of about adjusting and assimilating to how you need the pose to feel for you. But as I said, there is a lot of sensation in yin, so you have to kind of decide whether that's good sensation and whether that you're good where you are, or whether you need to go a little deeper, or whether that's discomfort. Maybe it's a little bit of pain and you need to back out of it and adjust accordingly. Staying in that forward fold where you are, maybe bring your fingertips down to the floor of the mat beside you. It's like kind of beside your hips, and then press into the fingertips, using that support to kind of roll yourself back to upright. Taking a moment, always mindful of the low back here, especially in these seated forward folds. Bring the fingertips behind you for support. Uncross the legs, extend them long, and then windshield wiper the feet. You can also bend the knees and windshield wiper the knees if you wish to. And then make the adjustments that you need to with your sit bones. Extend that right leg out long. Put the bend in that left knee. Interlacing both fingers over the knee. Check in with that posture. Kind of pull yourself in, sit yourself up. And then bring that right hand to the outside of that knee. And slowly now twist to the left. Just to remind you, and it gets very quiet when you don't have music and your mind starts to wander. Don't let the hamster get back on the wheel. Take your breath or find that focus point. Remind yourself to kind of just stay present to the pose and present to the moment. Thinking about the breath, find your inhale, fill yourself up, and then allow the exhale to bring the left shoulder back to center. Checking back in with the posture. Now you're going to pick up that left leg and you're going to cross it over the right, coming into half shoelace on the other side. Don't forget to adjust the sit bones, and then rounding through the spine, coming into the forward fold on the other side. You're going to notice symmetrically each side is going to be a little bit different, and that's okay. Just adjust as you need to. And allow yourself to soften. Kind of relax into the fold. Don't be afraid to round through the spine. A lot of exercises tell you to fold with a flat back, and in this practice we don't. It just allows the stretch to go deeper, but always mindful of any sensation that comes up in the low back. Staying in the forward fold, just as I had you do on the other side. Bring the fingertips back to the floor by the hips. Press in, use your arms, draw yourself back to upright. Take a moment there and then extend the legs long. Come back to that windshield wiper. Maybe even lift up out of the low back. Pull the shoulder blades of the elbows together. Sometime here in October, November, I'm not sure when, I'm gonna start offering mini workshop sessions that are just going to be an hour long, and you can use your pass to attend them. And one of them that I'm working on is yoga poses for low back pain, if you sit a lot or if you just have low back pain. So from here, I'm going to have you come around to tabletop. Spread the fingertips wide underneath the shoulders and the knees somewhere, excuse me, somewhere underneath the hips. A little bit of engagement in the belly, lift on the place between the shoulder blades. Option here again to close the eyes, just to take away the distraction. And then in the next breath, lift the chin, let the belly drop, push the tailbone up. Lots of expansion across the belly and the chest. Hold that for a moment. Remembering to continue to breathe, don't hold your breath. And the next time you find yourself cycling to an exhale, kind of press into the fingertips, draw the chin to chest, round through the spine, pull the tailbone in, maybe even shift the hips back a little. Now you're going to alternate between the two at your own pace, coming through cat and cow pose. You can stay here as long as you need to. If you've practiced with me before, you know that everything that I offer up is optional. When you feel ready, come back to that neutral spine. And I'm going to have you widen your hips just a little bit. So they're maybe just a smidge wider than hip width apart. We're going to make our way into wide knee child's pose. So sit the hips back towards the heels and then start to bring the chest down towards the mat. Now, if you find that you want to widen your knees even a little bit more, you can go ahead and do that. You can stack your palms, let your forehead rest. You can also stack your fists. If you have a hard time getting your forehead all the way down to the mat, use your forearms for support. It's okay. The focus of this pose is the hips. And then once you get there, allow the body to start to soften. That's what's going to help the pose go deeper. That muscle disengages. Then the stretch moves past the surface muscle into that connective tissue and that fascia that I talked about, and your body weight starts to come into play. And that's where I cycle back. I always remind you again and again that everything is optional. So if you're in a pose and you're like, you know what, this is horrible, I don't want to be here, this isn't working for me, then just lay on your belly, come off your knees and off and out of your hips. So from here, you're going to take your hands, and you're going to reach them towards the top of the mat. You're going to find a little bit of engagement. Maybe the elbows start to lift off of the mat just a little bit. Find a little bit of length through the back. Maybe even press into the tailbone. See if you can stretch the back a little more. Also stretching underneath the arms. Taking a moment in that heart meridian just for a minute. And then with the next breath, start to lift yourself up to tabletop. You're going to walk your knees in a little bit closer together, somewhere underneath your hips. Keep your fingertips forward. Your arms are going to stay straight. You're going to shift your hips down. You're going to come into seal pose. So gently lift the chin, open the chest, pull the shoulder blades together. Make an opening. And then put a bend in the elbows and slowly bring yourself all the way down onto your mat. And from here, you're going to spin your elbows to the side. You're going to stack your palms and you're going to let your forehead rest. You're going to take a moment in resting pose just for a breath. It's taking a moment to come out of the hips. Because then we're going to come right back into the hips with half frog. So starting on the left side, you're going to bring the left knee up towards the left elbow. Your toes can be pointed away from you with the arch of the foot laying on the floor, or you can kind of point the toes. You're going to find whatever's comfortable for you, and then adjust your foot, your calf muscle, your knee all accordingly. And then once you find a portion of the stretch that feels good, then bring your forehead back down to your hands if you moved it, and then let your body relax. That hip start to open a little. We're going to start to transition out. So you're going to start to bring that left foot back behind you to meet the right. Shift the hips so that you start back in your center point. And then you're just going to take that right to the other side. Bring the right knee up towards the right elbow. And then relaxing into the hip. We need to make our way out of this right side. So go ahead and bring your right leg back to meet the left. Same thing. Adjust the hips. Come back to your center line. Start to spin the elbows so they come back towards the rib cage. Palms are underneath the shoulders. And you're going to start to press yourself back up to that tabletop. Option to take around a cat-cow there if you wish. And you can stay here in that cat-cow if that's where you want to be, or you can tuck the toes, lift the hips, open the chest, come into downward facing dog. Find some movement while you're here. Take time to roll, stretch into the bottoms of the feet, the toes. You can roll the ankles and the knees. all that connective tissue that we're stretching, we're also lubricating it along with the joints. So let's start to move everything around a little. You can also take a deep bend in the knees, press the tailbone up towards the ceiling, open the chest a little more, let the head hang heavy. You can stay here if you wish, or you can even start to walk the feet forward a little bit. If you're tired of having the weight in your hands, come into ragdoll or forward fold. It's kind of nice here to widen the feet a little bit and soften the knees. If you've taken ragdoll, let the head hang heavy so you don't have any compression in the back of the neck. You can hold on to either arm. It's really stretching out the posterior side of the body. If you're in down dog, you're going to come down to your knees. If you've taken ragdoll or dangle, you're going to bring your fingertips to the floor for support. You're going to step a leg back, come down on the knee, and then the other. And I'm going to have everybody swing around to seated. Well, seated to reclined. Excuse me. So once you get there, you can use your hands behind you for a little bit of support, and then go ahead and bring yourself back down onto your mat. So let's take a minute here, especially for those that didn't start out on your back, that you started seated. I want you to keep a bend in your knees and bring the soles of the feet onto the mat. Excuse me, I'm sorry about that. And pick the hips up and send them back down. So you really feel that low back, the lower portion of the spine, make contact with the floor of the mat behind you. And then as far as the upper back goes, kind of pick up the chest and tuck the shoulder blades underneath, and then let the spine soften. A little tuck of the chin, so the back of the neck is long. It's not creating any compression there. And then we are going to come into a pigeon variation or figure four, whatever that is, whatever you like to call it. You're going to pick up the right foot and you're going to place the ankle on the left knee. And then you're going to let the legs relax. And that, when your legs are relaxed, is the range of motion. That's the opening that you have in that knee. I used to guide you guys to kind of press into that right knee. I don't want you to do that anymore, because that's going to take some of you past your range of motion. And we just don't need to go there. It's just going to create issues that we don't need. So you're welcome to stay here, or to go a little bit deeper. You can pick that figure four up and release behind the left thigh or over top of the left shin. And then gently hold that. Letting the shoulders relax when you do. If you've taken the bind, you're going to slowly start to release that, let that go, let the left foot land back down on the mat. Keep the ankle on the knee just for a moment, and then you're going to pick it up. You're going to leave the left foot where it is. So there's a bend in that left knee with the foot on the mat. And then we're going to come into half happy baby on the right side. So from here, what you're going to do is you're going to send the sole of that right foot up towards the ceiling. Several different things that you can do depending on your range of motion, your flexibility. You can interlace the right hand behind the knee and use that leverage to kind of pull the knee over to the shoulder. You can hold on to the shin and the ankle if you wish. You can take your index and middle finger and hook it around that big toe, or you can take the right hand and hook it on the outside of the right foot. Same thing as you did before. If it doesn't touch, that's fine, but try to let that right shoulder relax towards the mat. That's going to create a little more leverage, a little bit more opening in that hip. If you've gotten here and you really feel like you need a little bit deeper, you can intensify this by stretching that left leg out long. Mine won't even touch the ground. So that's totally up to you and how that feels for you. And just remember, you have that focus point to draw yourself back to. You start to get distracted. Many of you are already aware you wouldn't be here practicing tonight with me, that this form of yoga we're not trying to get anywhere. We're just trying to bring our awareness into our bodies and lubricate our joints and just stretch and open our energy lines and just feel good. If you've extended that left leg long, I'm going to have you put a bend in the knee and start to bring the sole of the feet to the mat. I've had to shorten the poses a little bit because we're running out of time already. And the bind that you've taken on the right side, I want you to go ahead and start to release that, but keep that right knee bent. Because what you're going to do is let the heel come down towards the hip. You're going to interlace your fingers around the right knee and then draw that knee up and over towards the shoulder, coming into wind removing pose. Same option here. Once you're there, you can extend that left leg long if you wish. It's up to you. While you're here, if you want to take this opportunity to take a few rolls into the ankle, the right ankle, the toes, you can go ahead and do that. So if you've taken the left leg long, go ahead and you can put a bend in the knee if you want, and bring the foot to the mat. Soften the grip on that knee, start to bring that knee kind of back to center, and then slowly set that right foot on the mat. Both knees are bent just for a moment, and then extend both legs out long. Widen the feet wider than the hips, and then open the arms to the side, come into Pinnacle Pose. Close your eyes and allow yourself to relax. As you do, maybe you even notice the difference in your hips. There might be a lot more sensation in that right hip to the left. We also, kind of create a lot of compression. We did create a lot of compression deep in that hip. That kind of kinks up that artery. So now it's opened back up. Should be nice and everything should be flowing nicely now. Now we're going to take that whole little series on the other side. So start to bring the arms in a little bit closer, take a bend in the knees, feet come back to the mat, figure 4 on the other side, so left ankle to left knee. You have an idea where we're going, so come right into the bind if you wish, pick that up, or just leave it sat on the floor. Remind yourself that every time you change positions and then you land back in a pose, to let yourself relax. We pick up tension when we move around, and it's just good to mentally remind yourself to Soften in the pose. If you've taken that bind, go ahead and start to release that. Bring the foot back down to the floor. Let the hips relax. You're going to uncross that left ankle, coming into half happy baby on the left side. So now the left knee comes in towards the chest. Same thing, maybe play around with it. See which version of the bind you want to take with that. It might be different on this side. I'm going to try to let that shoulder soften, that left shoulder soften towards the mat. Whatever form of the bind you took, if you extended that right leg long, put the bend in the knee, release the bind, and let the heel fall towards the hip while you keep that bend in the knee, and then come into wind removing pose. So interlace fingers over the knee, gently drawing the knee up and over towards the left shoulder. Same offer stance on this side too. I forgot to mention, if you want to roll into the ankle or here, you can. Toes. I'm going to start to soften that bind. Slowly let the left foot come back to the mat with that knee bent for a moment. If the hips need adjusted, you can come back to center and then extend both legs out long. Come back to that pinnacle pose again. Widen the feet. Extend the arms to the side. Allow the body to relax. So let everything open up. Maybe noticing any sensations that arise. The biggest benefits that come with Yin don't happen necessarily during the practice, but they happen after the practice. That's the good stuff. So maybe notice later whether you slept a little bit better tonight, or maybe if you're in a little bit better mood tomorrow. Sometimes opening things up can also bring things up. So if you notice that maybe you're a little bit more irritable, that's okay as well. It's just things dissipating and moving within our bodies. I'm going to start to come back to the hips. If you want to leave the arms out wide, you're more than welcome to do that. You can also bring them up over your head. If you want to stretch a little underneath the arms, it's up to you. From here, we're going to bend back into the knees. Feet come back to the mat, and then move your feet closer together so that they're touching, and then let the knees fall open to the side. As they do, the bottom of the feet are going to come together. We're landing in recline bound ankle pose. Consciously letting those thigh muscles relax. That's going to create the opening in the hips. If you need some type of support, a rolled up blanket underneath your knees for a little support, you can do that. Or if you feel like any time that it's just starting to open up a little too much in the hips, just bring the knees back together up towards the ceiling. Keeping your arms and your upper body right where they are, maybe even keeping the eyes closed if you wish. Start to bring the knees back up towards the ceiling and then kind of shift your feet so that they land a little wider than your hips. And then let your knees relax. Let each other, using each other for a little support. We're going to start to make our way to just a nice soft spinal twist. So the knees separate, the feet come back a little closer together, width apart, or maybe even a little closer. Press into the hips. Press into the feet, and then use that leverage to shift the hips a little to the left, and then let the knees fall over to the right. The intention for this is a little bit more on the restorative side. So whatever adjustments you need to make it a little softer or make it more appropriate for that intention, and go ahead and do that. And then allow yourself to relax. Bringing the attention to the knees as you start to shift them back up towards the ceiling. And when the feet land, then just shift the hips over now to the right. And then the knees will fall over now to the left. Bring attention back to the knees again. Start to bring them back up to center. And when the feet land, shift the hips so that you're back to where your midline is. Staying there for just a moment, kind of give some thought to how you want to close class, how you want to spend your Shavasana, whether that's on your back, on your side, your belly, or that's a particular pose that you were kind of hoping that we would do that we didn't. Go ahead and start to make your way there. When you get there, close your eyes and take a nice deep cleansing breath, nice deep full inhale, and then a nice long slow exhale out of the mouth. Just letting everything go. I want you to relax into the space, into the Shavasana, knowing that I will be here to bring you back when it's time. Just very gently beginning to deepen your breath. Just keep your eyes closed. Allow yourself the next few breaths to kind of absorb the stillness or relaxation, how you feel. Or maybe even, if you're inclined, set an intention for yourself from this little space that you're in. And then, as I ask of you every time that we practice together, take just a moment for gratitude. For the practice, for whatever it is that brings you to your mat, but always gratitude for yourself for taking time out of your day for just you, especially from your home, because I know that can be a little extra challenging. Convenient, but challenging. As you know, I have so much gratitude for you and gratitude for us to be back together and practicing again. I honor the love, the light, the truth, and the beauty within each of you because it is also within me. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Namaste. You're welcome to unmute yourself if you want to say goodbye, or if you have any questions for me or anything you want to chat about. I want you to keep eyes open on the schedule for pop-up classes. I'm going to try then add them whenever I can, especially if the weather's kind of cruddy. And so just keep